everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Bullish or Bearish. I'm Angela Chu from Success Options Group, and I'm here with my brother Tony, and we're bringing you another great episode where we talk about things that are important to you in the financial market. So, we let you know both sides of the story and kind of give you an idea of, the different things that you need to consider so that you can make a decision that's right for you.
Yeah, I mean, the best way to learn all this stuff is through one of our workshops or through one of the private consults. But these little videos are our way to help you get an inkling into all these different topics. And today's topic is one of the age-old debates: fundamental analysis versus technical analysis. So I am the fundamental side. So it simply comes down to this: is if you want to know what stocks, what companies to invest in, you have to know how well they're running, how good of an operation they are, like whether they have the right people in place at their leadership level, whether they're making money, are they making profits, do they hit their fundamentals, right? And do they have increasing sales? How is their expenses? This is the basic guideline that you need as an investor in order to choose what to invest in.
Okay. So while he has a good point, the thing is, not all strategies require you to actually have to do fundamental analysis, for every little thing, because there are a lot of things that if you're doing a short-term kind of trade, you don't need to do such an in-depth fundamental analysis because that takes a lot of time. You can actually use technical analysis to look at what trends and what patterns are happening. Because if you just need any stock that is following a specific pattern or trend to implement a strategy, you don't actually need to go into all those details. You just need to know, okay, is it following the right trend? Is it following the right pattern? Can I apply the strategy I want to apply to this? And if you can get an answer for that, you don't need to do all the extra fundamental work. That's why technical analysis is what I say, you have to know technical analysis.
And so this is the debate though, right? So technical analysis is more for day traders than you would seem, right? So that it's not necessarily for people that are long-term investors. You're just looking for patterns on when to get in and out of a trade. So you have your W pattern, let's say, which is W for win, right? And it's going to take off and you're going to be able to get in and out. Well, quickly that W turns into an M, and it's an M for murder. And it just went down the wrong way on you. That's the thing about technical analysis that doesn't always make sense. It's like, oh, that I thought it was that pattern, but it actually was this pattern. And now I'm in trouble.
Okay. So the thing is about patterns is that what you just mentioned is not actually a problem with the technical analysis. That's actually more about, do you have the right education to actually recognize the pattern correctly? And also, do you have your plan set up so that if it does go the wrong way on you, that you already knew what you were going to do so that you wouldn't actually lose, wouldn't lose too much. You only lose what you were willing to lose. If you already have a plan of when you were going to get in, when you're going to get out, as you should for every good trader, then, you being able to recognize the pattern and use the pattern. And like he said, for really long-term investments, yes, fundamental analysis. But when you're talking about shorter, and it's not just day trading, if you're even just talking about swing trading or even just, maybe position trading, you can use just technical analysis for those. And that's 2 weeks to a couple months, so anything less than holding for 10 years, technical analysis is where you need to be, where you need to, at least you have to know this.
So let's talk about one of the things that you mentioned earlier is that fundamental analysis takes too much time. Really? So this is your investment, right? This is how your money, this is what you want to retire on. And it takes too much time to look at the companies that you're invested in, right? That just seems wrong, right? That seems like not the right kind of thing. Some of the best investors in the world, like the Warren Buffett, it comes down to fundamentals, right? So I mentioned earlier, does the company make money? Does it make a profit? Is it holding in expenses? Is there good leadership? And where fundamentals really come into play is as you get towards your retirement or you're thinking about that, you find companies that hit that same kind of plan that you're looking for. Maybe it's dividend companies, right? Companies that give you a good dividend, or maybe it's those growth ones that you you know what, I think this one's going to take off. It's going to like 5 times my investment kind of thing. And that's really where fundamentals come into play, is that it's not on the whim of like a pattern or anything like that, right? You just wanted to buy and hold.
Well, so you're still going back to the fact that you're just you're talking about one specific strategy, the buy and the hold, the long-term plan. I'm talking about like, yes, fundamental analysis is super like important for that type of strategy. But even with that, you still needed to know technical analysis to know when to get in for your buy and hold. Technical analysis is still needed to be used for pretty much every trade, no matter what kind of trade or what kind of strategy you're using. You still have to have some kind of technical analysis ability in order to know when to get in and how to get out. And so, yes, you're right about the whole buy and hold long term. But I wasn't saying that you don't need to know anything at all about the company whenever you're just picking, stocks for short term. But you don't need to do all the in-depth like fundamental analysis of, okay, now who is like all the leadership, how are they running their company? Because when you're doing a trade that you're only going to be in for like a couple of weeks to a month, sometimes you can use common sense and be like, okay, do I know what this company is? Oh, well, I know this company. Therefore, it's not like a company that is like nobody knows about, that is like kind of, okay, what the heck is this? It's not a super risky stock. You're still picking things that you know, like that you've heard of, like companies that you know, like maybe Caterpillar or, G&E or, McDonald's. They're all companies that you kind of know. You might not need to actually go and research all their specific details and fundamentals, but you can still do like short-term trading on them, based on their pattern of their stock charts, and that's what I'm talking about, like not needing to go in and look up everything and be able to make quicker decisions, especially if you're doing a trade or two every single day.
Right. So I think that's the problem I have with technical analysis. That's my next bone to pick. It's like, wow, now I got to spend all this time, researching and figuring out which ones to get in and out of, right? And I don't got time for that. I got a job, right? I got something to do. And that just sounds like a lot of work. So like, you mentioned like for example, 401ks, right? It's just you keep cost averaging in, right? You just keep buying every month with your paycheck and that stuff. And that's really, it's like, well, what technical analysis do I really need in that, right? Why do I have to spend this time trying to figure out what's the pattern and how to get in and when to get in? And, I got meetings during the day, right? So I don't necessarily have time to go in and do all these trades.
Okay. So now you're getting to the time issue. And while you have a point with the whole like 401ks and just the cost averaging in, the other thing with fundamental analysis is this is actually based on your understanding, your education, and your experience. Because when you actually understand technical analysis, yes, when you're learning, yes, it takes time. Yes, you have to put in some effort. Yes, you have to like maybe spend more time learning it at the beginning. But once you actually know what you're doing, then it's like, oh, if you get good at it and you're used to putting in trades, you can look at a chart and be like, oh, I know what that pattern is. Oh, I've seen this before. I know exactly what it's going to do. I mean, maybe not 100%, but you said, okay, I've seen this happen on other charts 15 times, and it usually goes this way. So your experience, you build up that database in your own head of your own experience, that it doesn't take that long once you get, once you get into it, like once you know what you're doing.
Yeah. So that really is the crux of this. There's really, like most things in life, it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I think the big thing to come out of this, it is a lifelong skill, right? You learn about fundamentals, you learn about technicals, and you build these skills, and it's something you can use for the rest of your life, because it gets at like how do you want to live in your future, right? And it's your investments, and how are you going to continue to get gains from your investments, right? So it's a lifelong skill that we teach in the workshops, in our private sessions, and there's no better word for it, is that just it brings you that level of comfort that you might not have without it.
Yeah, so like he was saying, what we talk about, it's actually, there's no actual right answer to this. You actually need both. You actually need to know about fundamentals, and you need to know about technical analysis. You actually need both, but it's about being able to know the things that you need to know so that you can make the right decision for you based on what you're trying to do, like what your goal is. And that's why we give workshops. That's why we have programs. It's because everybody is different, and what's right for one person might not be the same for somebody else. So that's why, you really need to know and figure out what's right for you and get the education that you need to do what you want to do. So hit the like, hit the subscribe, and come back and join us again.